Welcome to the special episode and the interview with the revered spiritual teacher and world traveler Indradyumna Swami. His latest book is Adventures of a Traveling Monk. Today we'll deep dive into the life of a remarkable person who left his brief stint in the US Marines to become a devotee at the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, ISKCON, at the very early age of 21 years. Swamiji has traveled across the globe for 50 plus years, and his latest book is a reflection of his spiritual teachings and the experiences, profound experiences that he has gathered and that reflects in his writings. So, without further ado, let's jump into the interview. Hope you will enjoy it. Thank you. So, Swamiji, congratulations for your book, and it is filled with profound insights, profound experiences of you as a traveler, as a spiritual teacher, and it was great reading the book. So, today we would like to conduct an interview with you to know more about your experiences and how it shaped up your life and your journey throughout. So, shall we start? So our first
We can
question
start.
would be, you served in the US Marines for a brief
Mm.
period of time. So how did it impact your decision? And at the age of 21, it is so early to join an organization like ISKCON. So what made you do that?
Um, I could say that I was born in a well-to-do family in America, in San Francisco, California. And as a young boy, I really didn't experience the duality of life. Like there's happiness and distress, heat and cold, up and down, boy and girl. I just experienced happiness as a young man. And that's a bit of an illusion because this world is a world of duality. So when I got older, at that time my country was at war in Vietnam. So my father was in the Navy previously, so he encouraged me to join the armed forces and go to fight for democracy. So although I didn't actually fight in Vietnam, I was involved in training and traveling and etc. for about 2.5 years. And I saw a different side of life. I saw actually, when I joined the Marines, I joined with 12 of my closest friends.
Mm-hmm.
We were part of our soccer team in America. And when they went over to Vietnam, I stayed back for advanced training to be a sniper. And within the first few weeks, they were all killed, my best friends. So that had a huge impact on me. I saw the different side of life, and I was looking for some solace. I was looking for some alternative, and I came across the Bhagavad Gita, India's immortal wisdom given by Krishna, and I read therein that there's 4 types of people who take to spiritual life.
Mm-hmm.
There's the distressed, there's the desire of wealth, there's the inquisitive, and there's he who was searching for knowledge. And I came out of distress, I have to admit. I was in distress and I needed answers. Why is there so much suffering in this world? And is there an alternative? I began asking those perennial questions of who am I? Where have I come from? What happens at death? Does God exist? So although many people felt it was an unfortunate experience I went through,
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, I'm grateful in one sense to have seen that other side of life, the reality of life, the duality of life, and to find an alternative in spiritual life.
Okay, that's wonderful. Yeah. So
it's something akin to Lord Buddha. I mean, I'm not saying I'm anything like Lord Buddha, but Buddha's history. He wasn't born a self-realized soul. He was born a prince.
Yeah,
His father was a king, and it's similar. His father didn't want him to see misery, so he built a wall around the kingdom. And Buddha grew up thinking everything's okay. One day he walked outside the wall and he saw birth, disease, old
Yeah.
age and death.
He saw misery all
He,
around. Yeah.
he renounced and went, and then went to the Bihar and to the,
Hmm.
Bodh Gaya and became self-realized. So I'm a small imitation of that. But I think that many people experience the duality and then they take to their chosen faith, whatever it may be.
Yes. Right. Right. That is the way of life. Actually, it becomes the way of life. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So, how did the idea of the book came along? Like writing a book on those experiences, and how it is it taken by your devotees, by the people who are in ISKCON, and your reader base, of course. How do you think that it has been taken?
Well, in our Vedic culture in India,
Mm-hmm.
actually, the Vedic culture we understand from Mahabharata, it once existed all over the world. So, with Yudhishthira as the emperor and Hastinapur. But
Mm-hmm.
in our Vedic culture, it's described two types of persons. There's the Kripana, which is the miser. There's the Brahmana, who
Mm-hmm.
shares his good fortune with others. So I experienced my happiness in spiritual life to be far superior to the so-called enjoyment I had growing up. I had everything as a boy. I mean, my father and mother provided everything for me,
Mm-hmm.
but something was missing. So when I came to Krishna consciousness and I experienced something really authentic, the chanting of God's name and the going to the temple and seeing the murtis, hearing from the spiritual master, etc., I understood that was the higher taste. And I wanted to share that with people. So in my travels around the world, I saw the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I saw the alternative of Krishna consciousness. And I naturally wanted to share it with the people. That's a Brahmana. I didn't want to just keep it for myself. Like some people, they become very wealthy and they're not charitable. They keep it for themselves. That's Kripana. But I experienced the highest wealth, transcendental knowledge, deep satisfaction of the soul. And I wanted to share that with the people of the world. So one of the best ways to do that is to write a book. Because you can give lectures here and there, like I travel and give lectures on Gita, but the book, it goes much further. We have that saying, the mridanga, the drum, can be heard 2 blocks away, but Brihat Mridanga means the same message that you're giving by chanting on Hare Krishna in public or whatever. It can be spread very far and wide by books, by writing books. And I learned that from my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, because he translated many of the Vedic scriptures, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, some of the Upanishads. And although he was just in one place giving classes in New York or London, the books were going all over the world offering a solution to material existence. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, that's true. Books travel across the world and reach wider audiences.
Yes.
One more thing that regarding the book itself, is there any part that been due to technical issues? Because books usually what they do is in publishing and in editing, some parts are edited out. So, is there anything that is edited out or which you feel that must have been included or is not the case?
Srab, I've written actually 15 books.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a series, an ongoing series called Diary of a Traveling Preacher. This book is called Adventures of a Traveling Monk. So those books were written mainly for our devotees or for people who are familiar with Indian culture. And, some of the concepts like, karma, yoga, reincarnation, Veda, Yudhishthira, Arjuna, Krishna, people don't know in the West. So we just edited the same chapters, or I edited them in such a way that the general public could understand. Because my understanding is that this literature of India, the Vedas, and the corollary scriptures that are there, it's not just for Indian people. These are universal teachings, which are meant for anyone who has a human birth. I mean, we all have, as human beings, we have intelligence, unlike the animals, so we can understand deeper spiritual knowledge. So I think India's gift to the world, every country has something they can offer to the world to make it a better place. India's gift is spiritual wisdom. There's no other scriptures, with all due respect, I've seen in the world that go into the depth that Vedic scriptures do. So it should be shared with the entire world. And my experience is, if it's presented in a palatable way, in a proper way, anyone can understand the basic truths. I'm not the body. I'm a spirit soul. This material is a temporary place. I belong in the spiritual world. Anyone can understand. And I see that as I travel, people embracing the Bhagavad Gita. Although it was spoken 5,000 years ago in India by Krishna in another language, we've translated Bhagavad Gita into 38 languages of the world. And everywhere I go, people say, yes, this is what I was looking for. This is like a PhD study in the science of self-realization. So my books, that knowledge, which is previously studied by brahmanas, by rishis and yogis, we made it understandable for the general public in the form of my book. Same teachings, but general people can understand. And the reception's been quite amazing, actually.
Yeah, it is amazing. I have seen the reviews as well, and yeah, it is good one. Okay, that's very good to know, and perfect way of living, actually, what I have seen. It is. Next, if in your travel of 50 years, like you have traveled across the globe, can you recount any of the experiences which you would like to share that have had profound impact on you to embrace this journey, or anything special that has happened in that phase?
My duty is to travel anywhere and everywhere. In the sense we see all peoples as one general family. We're all created by Bhagavan. We're all created by Krishna, by God. So because we have a common father, regardless of what country we're born in, what language we speak, we're all brothers and sisters. So I go everywhere. I go to the wealthy, I go to the poor, I go to the healthy, I go to the unhealthy, I go to the literate, I go to the illiterate. So I don't make any discrimination, because I feel everyone requires this knowledge. But I think what impresses me a lot is when I go to people, the downtrodden, the poor people, the people who are suffering. Like I've been in the favelas of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, very poor people. I've been in the Black African townships in South Africa. I've been with the Aborigines in Australia. I always go to those places because I find people who are, having difficulty in this world, they're more they're more interested in understanding what is God, what is the relationship with God, how to awaken that relationship with God, because they understand that at the moment of death, if we're thinking of God, if we're immersed in meditation upon God, if we love God, then we go to the spiritual world. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, having once returned, we never return to this material world. So I kind of I go everywhere, but the message is probably more embraced when I go to the poor and the downtrodden, because they have nothing and they're looking for an alternative, spiritual alternative. So yeah, favelas and townships and desert regions and war zones. I was in Sri Lanka after the tsunami. People were suffering so much. We distributed food, Krishna Prasadam. I gave classes on Bhagavad Gita. We chanted Hare Krishna. It gave so much solace to people, and many people took up this Vedic tradition, this Krishna consciousness, as a result.
Okay. From your answer, I have one question that came up just up in my mind. Like in the case of in the times of suffering, like if there is tsunami or there is any natural calamity, what I have seen is that people mostly they embrace the spiritual journey, or they embrace a particular religion when there is suffering, when they are impacted by suffering. But there are other people as well that they don't believe in any religion. They don't believe in spirituality. So, what's your take on that? Like, and people need that suffering to adapt the spirituality, or what it can be?
Not necessarily. Like I mentioned earlier, three classes of people who come to spiritual life. I gave myself as an example of the distressed. Some come to religion because, well, there's some material comfort there. You know, they may be assisted by the church or the mosque or the temple. Some come out of curiosity. But Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, the best is the one who's coming for knowledge. So I also come across a good amount of people who are well-to-do, who are well-educated, and through knowledge, not through experience, but through knowledge, through observing the world through knowledge, they can see the duplicity of happiness and distress. So before they suffer, because everyone comes to the point of taking birth, getting disease, growing old, and dying, we all experience that. Looking for knowledge, they come to spiritual life. So it's not just that suffering people come to spiritual life. Many people come because they're smart. They can see through the illusion of material existence. Now, we want to be happy, but our happiness is like a drop of water on a lotus flower. You know, that water comes, it's there for a moment, and it goes off. So they're looking for a permanent solution to enjoy on the real level, on the spiritual level, by going back to the spiritual world and reconnecting with God. So yes, many when in my travels, many well-to-do people come forward with questions and how to practice spiritual life. You know, one person to remember clearly is Nelson Mandela. Everyone, well, at least in those days, they knew Nelson Mandela in South Africa. And after he got out of prison, of course, he was a famous person and he had all the comforts of life, et cetera, et cetera. But I met him and invited him to one of our events in Durban, South Africa, while he was the president. And he came and he saw the kirtan, he heard the katha, he took some prasadam, and there were many children there. And as we were walking back to the car, back to his stately car, he said to me, Maharaj, this was the very, very best day of my life. So part of the he experienced something higher than having a big position, a big car, lots of money and fame. He experienced something higher, something transcendental, some connection to the divine, some connection to God. Maharaj, this was the very best day of my life. So, yes, intelligent, well-to-do people also come to spiritual life.
Gain knowledge, yeah. That's right, yeah. Can you recount any fond memory of you as a young devotee when you just joined at the age of 21 and how it has shaped up you as an individual since then?
Could you say that again?
Yeah, I'm saying that can you recall any memory as a young devotee when you just joined ISKCON? Yeah.
Well, I experienced a relief, immediate relief from material life. I think I remember the first time I chanted the Hare Krishna mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. I experienced something divine because from a philosophical point of view, Namachintamani Krishna's Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha, there's no difference between Bhagavan, Krishna, or God, no difference between him and his name. He's present in his name. In every religion, there's that emphasis to call out the name of God. So when I chanted Hare Krishna, it was like no other song I'd ever experienced. I couldn't stop chanting. You know, when I was young, I'd listen to different groups. I'd become attached to a particular song. But then, you know, the attraction would go away. But I've been chanting Hare Krishna for 52 years now. And every time I sit down to chant, it's a transcendental experience. I'm connecting with Krishna. I'm connecting with the divine. So the first time I chanted, I simply cannot forget it. And the first time I take prasadam, vegetarian food offered to Krishna. It looks like ordinary food, but because it's blessed by the Murti, by the deity, that was another transcendental experience. And then living in the association of saintly persons, other devotees, that was a transcendental experience. So we often say that, the first time you do something nice, it's especially wonderful. The first in your life you have an experience. The first time is sometimes the best time, and the first time spiritually is the very best time. So I remember chanting, dancing, taking prasadam, hearing the katha, and associating with devotees like it was yesterday. It was 52 years ago. It came to that transcendental platform very quickly.
Okay, great. That's yeah. I have been to ISKCON temple in Delhi itself, many times in Vrindavan as well, and yeah, in Vrindavan as well. I have been there. I have stayed there for a couple of days or 3 4 days. Yeah, it brings in a sense of peace in your mind.
Peace and happiness and
happiness, right?
I actually live in Vrindavan. I spend like 8 months of the year in Vrindavan because it's a holy place. There's Ayodhya, there's Srangam, there's Tirupati, there's Vrindavan, there's Rishikesh. India is full of holy places, and when you go there, you sense it's not ordinary. There's something special about those places, and by living there for a few days or a week or months like I do, you feel yourself becoming purified, and you feel that your spiritual consciousness is being enhanced. So yes, India is special like that because there's so many holy places. It's blessed. All the incarnations, the Dasha avatars. Yeah, they come to India. They don't come to New York. They don't come to London or Sydney. They come because Bharat, I like to refer to India as Bharat. Bharat is a pious place. Even today in Kali Yuga, it's still pious.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great to hear that from you. One more thing, like while you were pursuing your book and you were traveling, I guess some devotees have experienced or expressed their concern that their life is kind of mundane as compared to your life as an adventure. Like you take it as an adventure. So how can they change their life, or it's a matter of thinking only?
I think the purpose of my traveling, whereby I experienced adventures, was to encourage people for the real journey, the journey within. Because in my travels, as you've read in the book, it's like almost like a fairy tale, although it's true. Yeah. It's actually true. We have videos of what I did, and I have witnesses to everything that happened in my book. But the purpose of my traveling was to inform people that even greater than that adventure is the adventure to go within and discover who you actually are. Because the basic principle of Vedic wisdom is that we're not the body. We're the spiritual energy within the body. We're the spark of life. We're the Atman. We're the soul. And that soul is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss, whereas the body is temporary, full of ignorance and problems. So what we're searching for actually in this world is the happiness that's within. So, I can tell people, well, not many people could do what I've done in my lifetime, but my real journey has been the journey within, and their journey is the journey within. So they can feel as much satisfaction and the spirit of adventure and discovery they can experience as much as they read in the book by practicing meditation, by doing kirtan, by studying the Gita in the privacy of their home. You don't even have to move off of your sofa if you can chant bhajan, if you can take prasadam, if you can read Bhagavad Gita. That's my message. Who can imitate my life? It's almost like unbelievable. Yeah, right. But the purpose is to encourage people to the journey within, and they will find the same satisfaction that I've found traveling and sharing Krishna consciousness around the world.
Yes, got it. Yeah, right. So, what is your idea of the key takeaways from the book and from your journey the people should have, both the spiritual ones and both who do not believe in spirituality as of now?
I think even if someone doesn't believe in spirituality, it's a good book because there's a lot of adventure there, you know.
Yeah.
And by reading the book and reading such an adventuresome life, you know, there's also little droplets of spiritual wisdom. So by reading the book as an adventure book, I've met many people who just buy it because it says adventure and people are looking for adventure. But while reading it, there's little drops of wisdom there and they're hearing that. And I think that will affect their heart. I think that that will convince them of the importance of spiritual life. That's the important thing about the book. And as far as the spiritual part of the book, you know, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, one verse, that he is adventure. He is adventure. So again, the real adventure is the spiritual adventure, where you can discover much more, you know, spiritually than you can about this world. You know, this world has its limitations of what's interesting. You know, it's pretty much chewing the chewed, really. By the time you get older, you realize all the pleasures you've enjoyed, it's pretty much the same thing over and over again. But spiritual life is unlimited. Realizing God, your relationship with God, the opportunity to go back to the spiritual world, you know, this is much more attractive than the material world. So again, our Vedic culture, Krishna conscious culture, it gives more information about spiritual life than any other book. I mean, I've read the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, the Lotus Sutras of Buddha. They all help me on my spiritual life. But when I read Bhagavad Gita, it's perfect questions, perfect answers. So even if a person's a Christian or a Muslim or whatever, Jewish, they can benefit from reading the universal teachings of Bhagavad Gita and come closer to God.
Thank you, Swamiji, for your time today. I guess we are running out of time as well. So yeah, thank you for taking out time for the interview today. It was really a pleasure speaking to you. So I wish you all the best for the book, and I believe it will be reaching millions and millions of readers more.
I hope so. And Saurabh, where are you living? In Delhi?
I'm Delhi. Yeah, I'm in Delhi.
Because I come to Delhi often. So maybe we can meet in Delhi one day, have lunch. Or
sure, definitely.
If you come to Vrindavan, you could be my guest. I have a little home there. We can take prasadam and continue our discussions. Okay?
Sure. Hare Krishna.
All right. Namaste. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you.